What is going on, guys? It's the Variety Film Brothers. I'm Andrew.
I'm Thomas.
Welcome to Variety Discussion. In today's video, we're talking about The Mandalorian, Season 3, Episode 3, The Convert. And I think for the first time in pretty much any Variety discussion, we actually have a pretty decently sized opinion, a pretty big difference in opinion about this episode. So I'm very for it. Thomas, not so much. So tell me a little bit about that.
It's just like we have a character that's introduced that I really don't care about. Like, I would much rather see Mando and Bo-Katan do something else than this character. I mean, I do think
Dr. Pershing?
Yeah, I do think he is interesting, but
Mhm.
I just don't think he really I don't really want him.
We have seen him in the show before.
Yeah.
A couple times, and they were very small appearances, so that is true. But just it definitely gave like Book of Boba Fett vibes with this episode, like when it shifted to Din Djarin so fast, and it does the same thing here with Dr. Pershing. So I'm actually very for this. I think this is very interesting. I could understand within the context of the Mandalorian, like as its own, just in that show, why you wouldn't be super interested in it. But I think this is gonna like fill big gaps in the larger Star Wars story, specifically like bridging the original trilogy to the sequel trilogy. And I have a lot of strong feelings, we'll say, about the sequel trilogy. We both do, but I think this is gonna do some really necessary storytelling connecting those two trilogies. But let's break it down, starting at the beginning. So we start with Bo-Katan having just pulled Din out of the lake or whatever, and she saw the mythosaur, and it's revealed that Din Djarin did not. Very surprisingly, I guess he was knocked unconscious like the second he landed. But I think it's very interesting that she did not tell him about it. I think she's definitely planning something. You get something a little suspicious from Bo-Katan pretty much every single time you see her in this episode. And luckily, she doesn't take off her helmet between now and going to the little cult group later on. That is a very, very good coincidence in her favor, because I don't know why she wouldn't take her helmet off. Like, well, why not? But after that, we get a small fight with a group of TIE interceptors, which is a very good fight, done very well. You can never have too many ship battles in Star Wars, and I can't even. Have we gotten a ship battle yet in this season? We had one with the pirates. Yeah. That wasn't great though. This knocks that fight out of the water. So right after the interceptors, no, there were bombers there as well, and they bomb Bo-Katan's command center. They go off into hyperspace, and that's when we get to the Dr. Pershing segment of the episode, which is like 80% of it.
Yeah.
So it could have actually been probably reduced a little bit and then maybe shown more over the course of a few episodes. But at the same time, as you said, it really has nothing to do with Mando's part of the story, at least not yet. Really, I think this does concern Grogu more than anyone in the story right now, and probably Palpatine if we're all being honest, or Snoke, or something's going on there. Something almost definitely connected to the sequels. I think pretty much everyone has kind of gotten that gist. Is it a good thing? I don't know. I think we've already talked about that, but again, the more they show, the harder it is to not have that conversation again. But what I love about this part of the episode is that it takes place entirely on Coruscant, one of my favorite planets and one of the biggest planets of the prequel trilogy, and specifically the building that Dr. Pershing? I threw a redneck accent onto that one.
Oh.
And specifically the building that Dr. Pershing gives his speech in is the building that Anakin receives the Darth Plagueis the Wise speech from Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith. So I find that very interesting that they reused that building. I thought it was a weird choice. Like, what events do they have going on there? Just all kinds of random stuff apparently. But it's definitely a cool callback. What do you think?
Yeah, I have a very interesting thought about that. Like, they let Dr. Pershing explain like how he's going to change this new republic and how he's gonna really change the world really. And but like I feel like since we have so many of people getting captured by the Empire and bringing them back, they're like, do they really care about like what
It's-
they're gonna do with them?
I really don't think a lot of people who are actually listening to him actually care a whole lot about what he has to say.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about it, it's really weird that he's given permission to do this
Yeah.
because like cloning is seen as like a very not morally right thing to do in the New Republic for some reason, which I think is really weird.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the Republic, just like 30 years earlier, we had the clone troopers, people who were pretty much undoubtedly good guys, despite Order 66. But I mean, pretty much any Star Wars fan knows about the inhibitor chips, and so they committed Order 66 against their will. So I think it's very weird that all cloning is seen as just bad, and like the New Republic is totally against it.
Mm-hmm.
And in this episode, that's actually the thing I had next to my notes. The New Republic is very sketchy.
Mm-hmm.
They do some weird stuff, and I don't know how I feel about it because like we're gonna get to Return of the Jedi not too long from now in our schedule, but it's obviously a movie we've seen several times at this point. At the end of Return of the Jedi, when they're sitting there at the very end, having just won the war, and you're like, okay, so they're gonna change the galaxy. They're gonna fix it. Leia specifically is in a very big position in the New Republic. What's Leia doing right now?
Yeah.
Does Leia know all this stuff is going on? Because like I just have such a hard time like labeling the New Republic or like thinking of the New Republic when I see these really crazy things being done, like the prisoners not even like getting to own their names really.
Yeah, dude. They get
Like,
letters and numbers.
It's very weird. And then like at the end, Dr. Pershing gets like he gets some kind of brainwashing done to him,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, is this really the New Republic run by Leia?
Yeah.
Or at least like she has a big part in it, and it's like, why aren't things being better? Because like I get we have to explain how the First Order rose. I get, and I do find that interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's good that we're acknowledging things that came before, because that's the problem I have with the sequels is like it just felt like it wasn't connected, or it felt like it wasn't interested in connecting really to the original movies, just kind of re-showing things and rehashing things. So I do give this show credit for trying to come up with some things to bridge that gap. But like, are we able to still save the characters while we do that? Like, I just, like, how is Leia allowing this? Because it can't be like she doesn't know about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just...
Because like cloning is like a big thing.
Right, exactly. Like it was being done on like a galaxy-wide scale. I mean, like it was mainly just on one planet, but like still, it had galaxy-wide, like results. Like everyone knew about the clones. So I feel like there should be like some opposition to this no cloning thing.
Yeah, like I feel like if you have someone that is in a position to clone things, Leia should come down and just like say, "Hey, listen, can you actually clone things?"
Yeah, like she
'Cause,
needs.
like, I need your help.
She needs to either be like, hey, well, for like, either way, she needs to recognize that this is an important person.
Yeah.
But either way, she needs to be like, hey, you could either really help us, so I'll give you a job, or you could really hurt us.
Yeah.
So we're gonna like put you in actual jail and call it a day or something, because like actual jail is better than what they're doing here.
Yeah.
Honestly. But getting kind of back on track, Elia, which sounds way too much like a liar, looking back at it. I don't know if they actually named her beforehand and like we're just hearing her name now, or if they gave her that name like with this episode, because we've seen her once or twice before as well. But like I can't hear her name and like not laugh now. But anyway, she gives Dr. Pershing way too many travel biscuits.
Yeah.
The man is going to gain weight. I'm sure they're good. Maybe I couldn't resist myself from them either, but there were like at least 60 we deducted in that box. We took many scientific studies.
Yeah.
It took hours. That's why this episode took so long to get out. Because we were doing scientific studies on travel
frame
biscuits.
by frame, seeing how many travel biscuits can fit in that box.
Exactly. Yeah.
We have say 60.
60. That's the big number. But something that I also thought was interesting is that like the little festival location like is specifically at a location that we see in at least one Clone Wars episode. It's not a very recognizable one. Like I could just barely recognize it, but I do think we should be seeing more of that. Like between that and like the Opera House, I like that we're seeing the same locations. Like I honestly think we need to be doing this more.
Yeah.
Especially in shows like this, like as long as it's not Tatooine. Like dear God, let's stay off of Tatooine for a little while. But like, I think it's really cool, especially with all this talk of cloning. If we were able to go back to Camino, even though I think at this point the city's already been destroyed, still like to see it.
Yeah.
Why not? But I don't think you've ever read the book or watched the movie 1984, but there are a lot of vibes in this episode to that. It's basically a book about like, well, I guess now it would technically be the past, but like it's got a lot of crazy stuff in it, and I think they definitely took inspiration from this, mainly with the brainwashing and the discarding of information, because that was Dr. Pershing's job, was to like kind of regulate information. That was a big part of it, and like that's the big reason why he didn't like his job, is because he felt like it was kind of just a waste of his talents, mainly. And I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree that it was. Like, does the New Republic not have any sort of scientific division?
Yeah.
Like that's probably why they very quickly. I can't talk today. That's probably why they very quickly lost a war.
Yeah.
Is because they're just not doing science. They're dismantling their military.
Mm-hmm.
Do they want to get taken over? That's what it seems like.
I mean, that's probably why the Empire has just been such on a large scale military that they actually know how to function things with machines, as the other side not very much.
See, like I just feel like if we're going back to explain how the First Order rose, because like before, when we didn't have an explanation for that, we just kind of assumed, oh, I guess Leia's an idiot. I guess the New Republic are just a bunch of idiots. And like, so when we started to get an explanation for that, I was like, oh, okay, there's more going on. But no, they were just idiots, I guess. Like it feels like they're not even trying. Like they're not trying to get scientists in. They're dismantling their military, and it's like, what is the New Republic doing that's not something dumb? Like, let's make the good guys look competent here a little bit, people. But that's just me. I don't know. Despite all my negative feelings, like I said, I did enjoy this episode. Let's see, what do we have next? I do have to admit, around the middle of this episode does drag quite a bit, though. There are a lot of pretty slow-paced scenes. Even if something exciting is going on, particularly on the train, it's shot and framed like in a very boring way, in my opinion, for a lot of it. I also wanted to see more of Coruscant's exterior, especially like the scene in Attack of the Clones where Anakin and Obi-Wan are chasing down the bounty hunter, and they're like in this like fire kind of industrial looking area. Would have liked to see that just for some more visual variety there.
Yeah.
But that's just me. It was really cool seeing a Star Destroyer on Coruscant, though. Never thought I'd see that. I don't think we've ever seen that in like even a video game or anything like that. So that's very interesting. But I think that's all I wanted to say about that part of the episode. How about you?
Yeah, I would say so as well. I wish I knew the exact location that is it, I forgot his name. Is it Cal Kestis?
Cal Kestis, yeah. I don't know what planet that takes place on, but it definitely gave those sort of vibes.
Yeah, I don't know what planet he starts on, because he does start on a Star Destroyer and finds a ship that looks like Anakin's or Obi-Wan's. It's probably
really?
not, but I mean, it does look like it though.
I'll have to take a look at that. That's pretty interesting. But nothing else on that part of the episode then?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so then, and very interestingly, the last 5 minutes goes back to Din and Bo-Katan. And this really surprises me because, like, in those 2 Book of Boba Fett episodes, we stay on Mando pretty much the whole time. Like, we didn't really go back to the main plot too much, but here we just get, like, whipped right back.
Yeah.
Which was kind of a good surprise because, obviously, we want to see what else is going on with them. And yeah, Bo-Katan is definitely planning something, dude. Like, she seems very suspicious, and I think Paz Vizsla kind of knows that. Kind of the bigger one that fought Din Djarin in Book of Boba Fett. I think he's kind of, like, sensing something here as well, so we could be seeing a duel with them soon. I think that's pretty likely. It'd be pretty nice, too. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised they're not, like, all dueling it out for the Darksaber right now.
That's a lot of fighting for Din, though.
Yeah, it is.
That's a lot. That's like at least like 12 duels.
Yeah, I mean, Guy never gets a break though, and that would make for a pretty cool episode, I think. Just going through like, having a tournament, everybody fights. That'd be pretty interesting, I think. Some of those custom Mandalorians though, pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty cool. I hope we get to see more varying Mandalorian designs because man, I have to admit though, most like fan Mandalorian suits look much better.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad, actually. If you go onto Instagram and just type in hashtag Mandalorian cosplay, you'll find cooler stuff than what you see in this episode in like 30 seconds. Like, these look good, but like, dude, Star Wars fans are talented.
Yeah.
I'm not just talking about myself when I say that. That's not just an egotistical thing to say.
In general, people are talented.
In general, a lot of Star Wars fans are really talented. So that brings us through the whole episode, and we're only at 15 minutes, surprisingly. So what is your score for this one? I'm very interested in hearing this, because like I said, we have pretty different opinions about this one, so I'm curious just to how different our scores are.
Yeah, I think it did go up for me whenever I watched it, like, recently, but I think I would give it a 73.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I have to give it an 85, so we're actually not all that far away.
Yeah.
Not all that far away. I do think, like I said, this episode is a little bit slow at times, but I think it's doing some really interesting stuff that I'm kind of willing to sit through some of that. I don't know if it's going to pay off, really. Like, that's kind of something I'm a little worried about for this show, is, like, how far off the rails are we going to go onto this cloning subplot, because, like, how important is it really to this show? Like I said earlier, it is a bigger part, or it does play a bigger part in, like, the role, or how do I explain it? It does play a bigger part in the story of Star Wars, you know, or it potentially will. It could be a huge misdirect for all I know. But, you know, even though I do think that's good for Star Wars, is it good for this show? You know, like, how many detours in this show are we going to have? Like, is that why this show is going to be, like, 6 seasons? Because it takes, like, a whole season's worth of detours? You know, I don't know. But, I mean, the most important thing to me is that I'm entertained and that it stays consistent with the larger world of Star Wars, and I feel that it does that. But I could definitely see where this episode was not really some fans' cup of tea.
Yeah, I like to see Mando. I just don't.
I do too.
I just don't like to see, like, some other character that. I mean, it's sure he's very interesting in some way. I do see that, but I just like to see Mando.
I understand. Mando's pretty nice.
That's about it.
That's about it.
I mean, like Mando.
Yeah, honestly, I thought we were gonna have a bigger argument because, like, that's kind of the feeling I was gonna get.
No, not really. I kind of don't like to argue, even though it's like not really arguing. It's
right.
Just, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, either way, like, it's not like either one of us thinks it's either sucks or is, like, super good. So, like, I don't really feel the need to defend this episode. Like, I feel the need to defend some Star Wars movies, which I probably need to not feel the need to do that in the first place. But either way, we can agree it's good. So I, you know, when we both agree that it's at least half decent, it's really hard to have much of an argument from that.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's going to just about wrap us up. Surprisingly, we blew this one. We blew through this one.
Yeah.
Very quickly. Very different. All right, thank you guys so much for watching this video, especially if you've made it this far, and for tolerating all the times I've misspoke today. Be sure to like and comment down below if you enjoyed this episode or the review. And be sure to subscribe for more content just like this, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace!